Hello, hello. I had it muted, so you should be able to hear something now. Cool. Give it just another minute or two for people to hop on. I put some stuff together. Turn up the game volume or the microphone? Or both? I do both. How's that? Is that better? Okay, Mike can't hear the game. I think it's just because I don't think there's like music or anything in this particular spot. Probably help. Here, let me put my mic a little closer to me. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Game is okay. Mic is low. Still low? How about now? Is that better? That's as high as I can put it. It's getting there. I think It's probably because I'm a little bit far away, just because I have like books and stuff in front of me and my desk is not very big. Not bad now. Okay, awesome. Okay. So in the previous part, we just kind of talked about, I guess, my kind of 30,000 foot view of how I interpret the events of the game, what I think it all means, the inspiration behind it, and things like that. Again, I think that there are like a vast amount of different inspirations that come together to make the lore of Elden Ring. But I truly believe that human psychology, trauma, those types of things are like the predominant theme throughout the game that I think without it, it's hard to interpret other parts of the game. So I wanted to start, so actually probably a year ago maybe, started reading some childhood trauma books, and it's like the psychology behind it. And I just wanted to read just a passage from it. Here, let me pull this up so you guys can also see it. If you're interested, it's called the Inner World of Trauma. It's from Donald Kalshed, and he has a couple different books, and they honestly all to me, I feel like I'm reading the script of the game, but I'm probably a little bit biased, so take it with a grain of salt. Let me. No. Why is this not? Here we go. So this first one is from the book Inner World of Trauma. It's like one of the first pages, and it says it's talking about patients who have childhood trauma. And it says that these patients clung to a remnant of their childhood experience, which had been magical and sustaining at one time, but which did not grow along with the rest of them. Although they had come to therapy out of need, they did not really want to grow or change in ways that would truly satisfy that need. To be more precise, one part of them wanted to change, and a stronger part resisted this change. They were divided within themselves. And then kind of just a splitting off point from that is what these kind of, this inner division within yourself, they're referred to complexes. And complexes are just like our different parts of ourselves, right? That are usually based around an emotion, a memory, things like that. So complexes, are these inner divisions within ourselves, come in the form of certain images which cluster around a strong affect. Affect is just like an emotion or memory or something like that. These complexes tend to behave autonomously as a frightening inner being. So there's a lot kind of to dissect within those two things, but I don't really want to get into it right now. I just kind of want to put that in your brain as we're moving through, because there's so many different instances within this game that's like this inner division, this inner turmoil, this division within ourselves, especially obviously with America, what it all means, why they look the way they look, things like that. And I think it's, again, with the shaman village, with what happened to her people, all that kind of stuff, I think again, like we're walking through her memories, and each time we come across a boss, like I see them as a complex of her memories. So something that happened to her uh, that had a strong effect on her. For example, um, within this book, this inner world of trauma, part of our psychological defenses is to hide away our inner child, our inner God. Um, and it quite literally says, like, we're going to hide them in a frozen place in a cocoon with, like, this good angel to protect them. Um, and that's quite literally like where Mikola is. I mean, he's in a snowfield. You have to go through so many different steps to get to him. He's in a cocoon, being protected by one of two beings within the game who have wings, who like is just his protector. And then on the flip side of that, you have another boss who has wings, but uh, is is a much more negative complex of America's memories, which would be like the original perpetrators of the trauma, like the horn scent. So in these two things, it's like America's inner child is being protected at all cost and is being hidden away and quite literally in a cocoon with a very strong being and the quote unquote good angel. All the while, the evil angel is trying to get access to this inner child, to this inner God. And just in pure psychological talk, this evil angel will often come, like it will personify itself as the original perpetrator. So let's just say, for example, like maybe you were super bullied in school when you were really young, and that person, had glasses and, black hair or whatever. Like, through your dreams and through kind of your experiences as you grow, like you're gonna keep finding a person with glasses and black hair that just scares the crap out of you for some reason, and you can't quite point to it because it's kind of this this hidden away trauma that you don't quite understand. But that's how I view like Moog and the different these different bosses are just complexes, like memories of America's that shape who she is, why she's doing what she's doing, things like that. So technically Mikla and Trina should be that first split. It's the inner child going ego and shadow. So technically Mikla and Trina should be that first split. Not quite. Let me think about how I want to kind of answer that. But anyways, like I said in the last video, like I think these first few sites of grace, the visuals are super important, because if you think about just your first time going through the game, like you're gonna sit here, then you're probably gonna go like to the next grace, and then probably go to the next, like for the first, let's just say, hour of the game, you're kind of on like these rails. So I think it's important to pay attention to the name, right, of the site of grace, the fact that it's called the first step. And there's so many different things that you could tie that to, right? Like you could tie it to like the first step of her inward journey, of this process of healing. It could be the first step referring to, what we see in the DLC trailer of like she climbs the steps of divinity, and maybe the first step has something to do with what is happening in this area, right? Obviously it's Limgrave, so grafting. There's a ton of different ways that you could interpret it but I think it's important to connect at least the first few, to the overall theme of the game. Can you see the like fog door up in the Erd tree? That's cool. I don't think I've ever realized that. Hello.
Oh, yes. Tarnished, are we? Come to the lands between for the Elden Ring? Of course you have. No shame in it. Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless. Without guidance, without the strength of runes, and without an invitation to the Round Table Hold, you are fated, it seems, to die in obscurity.
Excuse the dog hacking in the background. I think it's really interesting that, like, Varré talks, like, so nonchalantly about the Elden Ring. He's like, oh, you're here to claim the Elden Ring. Like, that's great. Like, if it was something that was like this incredibly powerful, sought after thing, I just feel like his tone about it would be like way more emphatic, I guess.
Luckily for you, however, there is one shining ray of hope for even the maidenless. Me, Varré. Take care to listen. Are you familiar with grace? The golden light that gives life to you tarnished. You may also behold its golden rays, pointing in a particular direction at times. That is the guidance of grace, a path that a tarnished must travel. Indeed. Grace's guidance holds the answers. It will lead you tarnished to the path you are meant to follow, even if it leads you to your grave. Grace's guidance will reveal the path forward, most certainly, to Castle Stormvale, over on the cliff, the home of the decrepit demigod, Godric the Grafted.
Okay. Let's go. So Danny, I think going back to your point, Saint Trina is not Mikola's shadow, or Marika's shadow, or like I view Mikola as just the young version of Marika. You're correct in that the first psychological split that we have within ourselves is between persona and shadow, right? It's you start to split, let's say around the age of 7 or whatever. Like, you start to understand that certain actions make people kind of praise you, and certain actions get you kind of in trouble as a child. So like, especially within your within your family. So parents, like if they praise a child for getting good grades and for playing sports, and they discipline a child for acting out and things like that, like that child is going to split right into, okay, I always want to please my parents, so I'm gonna focus on these good things, and then I'm gonna pretend like these other things don't even exist. So, because I don't want that response from my parents. Like I want them to think that I'm good, I'm doing good things. And it seems like within the world of Elden Ring, there is this split, and I think it's super apparent within the DLC of this like divine, clean person, and then our more beastly, animalistic nature. Like those seem to be what the split that happens early. And again, I think it ties into the statue that we see within Malekith's boss room of like this child kneeling and praying while she's surrounded by wolves. Like, I think it's why Godfrey has to take on this like persona, or I should say Horlu has to take on this persona of Godfrey and tuck away his beastly nature. So
you're a tarnished. I can see it. And I can also see that you're not after my throat. Then why not purchase a little something? I am Kale, purveyor of fine goods.
Yeah, Andy, that's a good point. There's tons of stuff within Mount Gelmir that like it's a it seems to be a piece of America that wishes, or that desires, kind of like this destruction of the gods, basically like tearing down everything, blasphemy, all this different type of stuff. And within that piece of her, right, like what we see in game is like this very, how they illustrate it makes that very, very clear. I don't have anything yet.
I am of a nomadic people, selling wares as I travel. The land has been tainted by madness.
And just so you guys know, like I'm not gonna like
tarnished like yourself.
dive into like every single little thing. I feel like some of it has been
a very welcome customer.
talked about enough that, or that I just honestly don't have an opinion of. That unless you guys stop me and say like, hey, what are your thoughts on XYZ? I might not talk about. So don't be afraid to just like in the chat let me know if there's certain things that you want me to talk about as we get to them.
You know, if you can spare the runes, you should buy yourself a crafting kit. A crafting kit allows you to make basic items on your own. Essential, really, if you intend to survive out here for any duration. The kit costs a bundle, and I admit I do take my cut. But the important thing is that you survive. Every customer counts, after all.
Looked up the etymology of Elden, and from Old English, Manchu, and Norwegian, I got Ella's Hill, Sacred Hill, Valley of the Elves, Old Friend, Old Servant, Light Ray, and Flamefire?
Goodbye, for now. now.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Okay. Let's go. Get that soon. And like I said, I haven't played this game for probably 6 months, so I may need help with like where the hell I'm going, what to do next, certain quests, things like that. So this surcoat, I think illustrates pretty well, like, exactly the division that is happening. If we take that the Erd tree is representative of the brain, of consciousness, of kind of higher thought, things like that, and then in stark contrast to that is this lion, the king of beasts, right? So like you have this division, and in the past there was this kind of collaborative, synonymous effort between the two that guided somebody, that guided your actions. And then there's a catalyst within it that, within our lives, that something changes, where we no longer want to relate to the beast side because of societal pressures, of our own pressures, of who we want to be, things like that. You're a big guy. Oh. Cracked pot. I think it's really interesting that like one of the first things that you can have access to, especially you can pick it from the very beginning, are these cracked pots, and somehow mends itself when broken. And in my opinion, the way that Marika's body looks at the end of the game, where you decide which ending you want, looks very similar, in my opinion, to these cracked pots. And then obviously we know everything that happened with her people in Bonnie Village and all that different type of stuff. But and as we talked about yesterday, we talked about like these cycles of basically healing yourself, right? Like, and somebody brought up that this current of time is kind of the great equalizer. Like throughout different, and I don't know how old you guys are, but throughout different parts of your life, you're gonna have an untold amount of traumas that happen, that break you and then that heal you, and then how you choose to move forward with that pain and how you respond to it will shape like the next quote unquote era of your life, right? Like it's going to be your next persona moving forward, which again, in my opinion, is why the Elden Ring or the Erd Tree changes shape and our color rather, depending on what ending you pick. Yeah, Danny, exactly. Yeah. But usually the thing that will shatter a persona is like a kind of this takeover of the shadow, right? Like there is this, and then again, like the way that I see the opening scene or the original story trailer where Godwin is getting murdered, is like it's the shadow that's taking over the persona, right? Like I think it's totally possible that what we see happening within the Gates of Divinity and like what seems like man is being almost created in that moment seems to be Godwin, or at least it could be Godwin, and if she is literally creating kind of her idealized version of something or someone, for that to be taken over by these dark figures who can't be seen, you need a light to see them, which is the only way you see shadows. Like the symbolism of it all is pretty powerful.
Wait, weren't you? Well, you're back. Care to buy something?
Yeah, I want to buy this. Ooh. I want to buy that. I want to buy that. Oh, glowstone. I'll buy that. Okay.
There are others of my people who yet survive in these lands. If the road takes you and you meet one, then offer them some trade, won't you? My people, wanderers all have long been spurned by the grace of gold, which is why we cannot settle, but instead are forced into this pitiful, unceasing journey. But thanks to that, things are not so different for us now, though the Elden Ring is shattered. I think this makes us kindred spirits of sorts. Your people, the Tarnished, and mine. Perhaps you don't need to hear this, but see that no harm comes to my kin. We have a saying, we wanderers. Lament not your solitude. Expect no sympathy, no regard, nothing. But if anyone dares harm us, show them no mercy. That is our code, so to speak. Just the way we are, deeply unforgiving. I'm glad you took my warning to heart. You've made an excellent choice.
Let's go get that. get you. Oh, let's look at some of this stuff. Okay, so telescope, astrology tool used by members of the Carian royal family, a stolen part of a larger instrument. During the age of the Ur tree, Carian astrology withered on the vine. The fate that once writ in the night skies had been fettered by the Golden Order. I wonder if that's referring to Radigan. Like his themes are definitely, surrounded around vines. And he seems to like infiltrate the Carian astrologers. And I wonder if this is the time where it withered on the vine, like it withered because of Radigan's involvement in it, or kind of smothering of it. He is kind of the personification of the Golden Order. Like his boss name is Radigan of the Golden Order. You bitch. First kind of statue of America. We see vines, golden vines down below her, and then she just has one braid. So this seems to be earlier on in her life. But we can talk more about that the further we go. Before I sit down, I need to go to the bathroom. Be right back. Sorry about that. Part of my New Year's resolution is to drink a gallon of water a day, and that comes with its side effects. Let's So this side of grace is very, very similar to like the Dark Souls humanity. Like it's a sprite And I think at first glance we would think this is America, right? Like she's guiding us to a certain goal, a certain ending. Obviously, we know it's to become the Elden Lord and brandish the Elden Ring. I just think it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. It's like her will, her spirit that is guiding us, and all of these quote unquote lost sites of grace. Like there's just so much, in my opinion, that it all ties together when you're thinking about it in the scheme of like we're going through her life, like we're going through her memories, shining the light on things that she's lost or refuses to remember, all of these different things that explain, right, like why she does what she does in the intro cutscene, as far as shattering the Elden Ring, the DLC, Radigan. So every time I activate one of these sites of grace, it's like you are like, it's like a neuron in your brain that's firing up again. It's like, oh yeah, I remember this. Like it's, again, if you're in a therapy session, right, and the therapist asks you a question where you're like, oh man, yeah, actually I didn't remember that, but now I do, and it sparks this whole flood of things. Notice like the ripples and where they're at on that side of grace.
Greetings, traveler from beyond the fog. I am Melina. I offer you an accord. Have you heard of the Finger Maidens? They serve the two fingers, offering guidance and aid to the tarnished. But you, I am afraid, are maidenless. I can play the role of maiden, turning runes into strength to aid you in your search for the Elden Ring. You need only take me with you to the foot of the Erd Tree. Then it's settled. Summon me by grace to turn runes into strength. Ah, another matter. I bequeath to you this ring. Use it to traverse great distances. It will summon a spectral steed named Torrent. Torrent has chosen you. Treat him with respect.
Okay. So if you notice, I can't quite get a good. You can see a lot better when she kind of walks towards us in that cutscene, but like there's these ripples right underneath the little sprite, And above the ripples seem to be these tree branches growing upward. And then below seems to be these kind of knotted roots that are the foundation of this thing. But there's this clear division, in my opinion, meant to be illustrated within these kind of watery ripples of, as above, so below. This division of things that we want to grow and nourish, and the things that we wish to hide away. And water is often seen, if you play Bloodborne, you this really hits home with you, but water is like this this in a kind of psychological, like dream, like if you experience water, you're experiencing some sort of like something that is being hidden away or something that is being cleansed, there's these different things, but it's this bulwark that you can't see past. Like it's like this great unknown kind of thing, which I've never noticed. Like I think that's kind of a cool way to illustrate that from the very beginning, and also kind of mirrors the Elden Beast boss fight, where there's these golden trees that are sticking above the ground, and you're kind of on this surface of water. It's very superficial, right? Like, it's why, in my opinion, like I said in the beginning, it's just this cycle. Nothing really changes because we're not getting to the literal roots of the problem. But yeah. How do you view individuation? I remember you mentioned it in an earlier video, and it was interesting. Is the Dark Night of the Soul something you must go through to acquire it? Yeah. Dark Night of the Soul is it's kind of the initiation into individuation, and individuation is just like the personified term of like the rebus, whatever you want to say. Like individuation is just, it's a process of turning quite literally lead into gold, of turning your past traumas into your strengths, of rediscovering your true self, of finding this inner peace and inner harmony, of rediscovering this inner God, this inner child that you lost along the way. And yeah, usually the Dark Night of the Soul. So the way that I understand it is that if you refuse to kind of acknowledge your darker half, your shadow side, your past traumas, and for those that have experienced it, if you refuse to acknowledge it, it will continue to haunt you. Like it will make itself known. Like you can't run from it forever. And in fact, it's usually quite the opposite, that the further you repress it and try to hide it away and pretend like it doesn't exist, the stronger it grows, the more dangerous it becomes. And eventually it will kind of take over, and it will become kind of this dominant force in your life. So it's either you willingly, through kind of your own insights and wisdom, that that something is wrong, that you take the plunge into the Dark Night of the Soul, or it's kind of forced upon you via your shadow, which seems to be what America is going through. Like it doesn't seem like a thing that she wished to go through. In fact, she seems to do everything that she can to just hide from the pain and not experience it again. She makes certain things like you can't do certain things, or she's gonna lock away certain people that remind her of certain moments in her life. Which, yeah, like if you have any experience with trauma, you need to kind of face that stuff head on, because the less that you acknowledge it, the more that you feed it. And individuation is like, if you think of the Philosopher's Stone, the Magnum Opus, like all this different type of stuff, it's that, but instead of a glass beaker that you're doing it in, you're doing it within your own self. It's like a lot of people thought that. No. Oh, no. Come on. Anyways, a lot of people think that the drawings and stuff of alchemy came from what the experimenter was experiencing within themselves. So a lot less to do with the physical mission of turning lead into gold, but more of the spiritual quest of turning your past traumas into something powerful. How does that not break his poise? We visit all our memories, and we are the one to deny her inner godhood. Realized in the intro, it says, and one other. It's not the full army of Tarnish being called back. It's just us. Well, we know that America calls back like all the Tarnished. I think that the intro of the game just makes it like we are like the chosen Tarnished, just like in the beginning of Dark Souls. Like, we seem to be fulfilling this sort of prophecy, but there's a ton of Tarnished that have come before us. There's something that makes us unique, which is why, you know, Torrent picks us, and Melina decides to become our maiden, things like that. Now, what that is, I think, is like everything else up for interpretation. It could be that we kind of have this essence of America inside of us. It could be that Torrent just knows that we're the chosen one for whatever reason. Like, he is just a good little boy and knows that we're going to take good care of him. And he's sick of Melina not showering and getting their nasty, stinky feet on him. So this gold road, I have a video on it if you're interested, to me is super important. In all of the different iterations of kind of the Elden Ring and these different seals and stuff, there are these 4 circles, right? But this is this golden road with this specific symbol, which is quite literally throughout the entirety of the map. It takes us to these different various places. Is the only one where everything is in harmony. Everything is equal. And the process of individuation takes 4 parts to be kind of living in harmony, right? It's the persona and shadow, and then the anima and animus. So persona shadow, where we talked about, anima and animus is just kind of our inner feminine and our inner masculine kind of coming together. It's these 4 things which get divided and kind of recessed away that need to come back together within one vessel, the original vessel, our inner child, where everything was in this state of harmony and kind of nirvana. Like we are quite literally following this path of wholeness, of individuation. It's taking us from place to place, and it's a reminder everywhere we go of, like, in my opinion, there are these 4 things that need to come into one vessel for us to rediscover, right, the true God, our inner God, to rediscover. And again, like, there's there's different jumping off points, because I could go into the secret right scroll, where it talks about the God's return, and if Mikola is this inner god of America, he would have been, right, in her younger days, God. Like, for her, he would have been representative of God. We all have it within us, and we're trying to rediscover that. That's the entire point of individuation, is to rediscover these lost parts of ourselves, and then reintegrate them into our vessel. Still wondering who we represent in the whole of it. Yeah, I think that's... I think it... Like, it depends... I think it depends on how you interpret it. Like, if you interpret that we are special, like, something within us is special, and that's why Torrent picked us. Like, if we have the essence of America herself, like, she bestowed grace to us specifically, we could be a part of America, the part of herself, right, kind of reincarnated, that wishes to go through these experiences, and to revisit these things. That's kind of how I view it, as we are like this little bit of courage within her that is finally taking this plunge. And didn't even pick it up. What an idiot. What an idiot. Can you remind me what represents America's shadow? To me, the only thing or person that can represent America's shadow is the Glowmite Queen. Which is why I think, again, Melina, I think, is America's spirit, like, talking to us. Which is why she can tell us the echoes, and jeez Louise, guys, just a little map fragment. Relax. Which is why she, has one eye open, one eye closed. She clearly has, like, this stark divide within her that America also seems to have. And it's just it's another piece of the puzzle, in my opinion. Like when we get to Marika at the end, we can clearly see that like half of her is this kind of corporeal, rock-like, what I think is meant to represent or be the same as where is he?
Oi!
Oi.
You there? Could you help us out, Cully?
Is that him? Yeah. And then the other half is like
What'd you go
quite
and
literally
do
like a
that
dark
for?
shadow that like, you know, kind of takes over her body.
Oh, yes. I remember. Some clod turned me into a tree. You were just breaking the spell, weren't you? Thank you. The name's Bok. I was pushed out of the cave. Told not to come back. Not ever. Then I ended up as a tree. Lucky you came along, really. Oh, what a shame. When they threw me out of the cave, they took everything I owned. And so this is all I have to express my thanks. I hope you can forgive me.
Thanks.
Or, well, if you can afford to wait for a while, I could sneak back into the cave and bring back something of actual value. Then I'd be of some real use to you, I reckon.
I think whatever is taking place at the Divine Gate is Marika splitting herself into persona and shadow. I believe that the persona is represented in Godwyn, and that her shadow is represented as the Glowmite Queen. Marika's just the vessel, right? Like she is the glass beaker that everything goes in. So that's how I view it, and I say that because Marika's entire thing is life. She's desperate to keep life going, and the only thing in stark contrast to that is death, which is kind of the Glowmite Queen's territory. And we already can see that within Melina, right, that there's... The game is trying to tell us that there's multiple, and even Miyazaki in one of his interviews says, like, Empyreans are not just one thing. Like, they're comprised of multiple different aspects of things. So, we know Marika to be an Empyrean, so I think that she's comprised of a ton of different things. In my opinion, she's comprised of Persona, Shadow, Anima, and Animus. So, basically, Godwyn, Glowmite Queen, herself, and Radigan, which represent those four circles in harmony. But just my opinion. I think that Radigan represents her inner masculine, her animus, the more physical side of herself. What the hell? And we can, once we get further down and we have his talisman and seals and things like that, or seals rather, can talk more about it. I should maybe be using... Ah! Thanks for waiting. remember the first time I played this game, I tried for probably a good hour to like steal his horse. I knew that we could get a horse. I didn't know it was like I thought it was like just a horse. Like you just grabbed a horse. So I kept trying to just kill him and to like catch the horse and like mount it, but yeah, didn't happen. Danny, what are you saying? It's pre-Golden Order. Maybe I missed something. Shadows also refer to the dead, our animalistic side, ghosts, memories, a hollow version of dreams, nightmares, vampires, regret, sorrow. Yeah. Some mythology are thought to be born from shadow. Yeah. Yeah, shadow is just like kind of the things that like we fear. Things that we fear or don't like about ourselves, about society, about you know, myths, religion, like all that different type of stuff. So like again, like there's a shadow version of everything. And it could be as small as something as like a trait or quality. Like it doesn't have to be like this big whole person or event. So like if your goal in life is to or one of the aspects about yourself that you want to be noticed by other people is that you're compassionate, you will suppress any aspect of yourself that is not compassionate, and it will go into your shadow. So things like rage and anger and hatred, right, go directly against how you want people to view you. So those are going to go into your shadow. So if again, like just think of God. He is quite literally like a very textbook example of he is / was Horlu, right? Like this ferocious, badass fighter from the Badlands, who is kind of chosen to become Lord, and he wants people to see him as lordly, as lord-like. So anything that is not lord-like, right, his true essence, if you will. Wow, that takes a lot of fucking glue. Will be hidden in his shadow, which is Siraj. Like, Sirash is like this transient lion, right? The king of beasts, who he has to tap into to rediscover his true essence. Godfrey is literally like a microcosm of the entire story. Like, think of, like, if we didn't see Sirash on his back, but Sirash was rather like a separate map or like a DLC, like that's what Sirash is his shadow. It's the vessel that holds back his shadow side, and is like, it's not until he's, pressed back, his back against the wall in desperation, that he taps back into who he truly is. Oh my goodness, it's been a minute. Die. Ah! Trying to get him to stagger. Yeah, pre-Golden Order was about the road with four-ringed. Yeah. Yeah, Golden Order seems to be something that is birthed in that DLC trailer. Which then, I mean, you could make the argument that it's Radagon who was like being born in that moment, which I think also makes sense. And it could be that her persona was created much earlier. Another kind of word for animus, like within a female. So a female embodies her own anima. So within herself, she has this counterpart, this animus, which is her masculine side. It's also referred to as her eros, which is her order. It's kind of the thing that navigates her, if you will. Like the more masculine, dominant side of herself.
Tarnished, are we? I wonder you should turn up here. I am Selen, a sorcerer, quite plainly. Why are you here? Ah, a yen for glintstone sorceries. I dare say your proclivities are far from ideal. Oh well, perhaps nurture will defy nature, with a bit of luck. But one must choose one's masters wisely. I was exiled from the Academy of Rea Lucaria as a reviled, apostate witch. Do you still wish to learn from me? Well, you are a piece of work. Very well. You are now my protege in Glintstone sorcery. But I refuse to coddle or cast kind words. Never. Anticipate grievances, young apprentice.
Who's that helmet supposed to be? Is it supposed to be Selen? Or is it one of like the earlier sorcerers? Have you ever read, watched a song about Game of Thrones? Yep. Which character would you peg for being Marika? It'd probably have to be like Sansa. That would. I haven't read it. I only watched the series, so I'm sure the books go into much greater detail. But just thinking about Sansa's story, kind of relative to Marika's, where like she has this tragedy early on in her childhood, goes through a bunch of different shit, and then kind of comes out on top, learning and things like that. Yeah, that's probably who I would say. Like, I think a good way to think about that, honestly, is, like, imagine if we, if we only saw Sansa as kind of like, final few acts, right? Or like a decision that she made that seems questionable because you don't have her history or anything, like what she's been through, things like that. And then you were working backwards from them, right? And you find out, oh, okay, well, before that, like, her dad's freaking head got chopped off, and her half of the family was murdered, and she was, you know, assaulted, and all of this stuff. It makes that decision not really questionable, right? It kind of validates her decision, her actions, in a long, good God, maybe I should just change that. In a long, kind of form way. And I think that's kind of our job here is to, okay, well, Marika shattered the Elden Ring. Why did she do that? Like, we know very little about Marika. Like, why did she send the Tarnished away? Why did she do what she did with Radigan. And then we, we discover certain things about her past, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this makes sense, and that makes sense, and I understand why she did this, and yeah. Let me change this before I keep. Nymeria Martellus America. See, I don't even know who that is.
Ah, you must be the new Tarnished. You do well to steer clear of a Gill Lake, fledgling. Dragon roosts there, and it's as fearsome as it is majestic. So, unless you're mad, or wish to be burned alive, stay clear of the lake. Don't be a fool. Turn back before it's too late. Don't.
I'm going for it, dude. I'm going! Actually, I should run there and level up. Is this one that takes you somewhere? This one takes you somewhere, right? Oh, what? Should I do this whole playthrough with this spear? Oh. I guess maybe if I'm gonna be like beast, I should do like claws or something. Isn't it more like the different factions are like personas? There's not an overarching figure like in Elden Ring with America. Like winter just represents the shadow. Oh, I need a little help on that one. Not sure what you mean there. I don't want to go. Yep, I'm in the States. Oh shit. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. Okay. Jeez. Job very seriously. Let's look at smithing stone. Okay, so stone used to smith a variety of armaments. Smithing stone is found throughout the lands between, and mining galleries built to excavate it can be found everywhere. Somber one, so special armaments, drained of color. Golden rune 1, so grace that dwells within the inhabitants of the lands between. The lingering trace of gold. Runes are nourishment for the development of any tarnished, provided a finger maiden can be found. Then we have 4. Even now, runes are still imbued with the power of life itself. Do you see the Erd Tree towering? And then 2 is the same as 1. Trina's lily, a light purple water lily that is on the verge of wilting. A symbol of faith in Saint Trina, dulls the senses, preventing agitation. I almost wonder if Saint Trina and Mikola kind of represent this inner division of the desire of change versus the resistance to it. Kind of like what we talked about in the beginning, that little passage from that book, where, here, let me just read it again. To be more precise, one part of them wanted to change and a stronger part resisted this change. They were divided within themselves. So in that sense, it would be like Marika is the one who wanted to change, and Radigan is the part that is resisting that change. And then that would be mirrored in Mikola and Saint Trina. Like the fact that sleep and like preventing agitation and all this different type of stuff is Saint Trina's domain. To me, I get a sense of like not of laziness, but of like kind of this, you'd rather just kind of melt into nothing, or you're fine just being static where you are, not changing, compared to the alternative of going through hardship to get to the bottom of something and experiencing change. Like you're kind of just clinging on, like you're just kind of surviving. You're not really like living life. But I've wondered if the smoldering church in Limgrave have some relevance to Melina, since she has the smoldering butterfly. You also find the sacred scorpion who raises holy attack as Melina uses. Yeah. Is that the one where the sword monument on the outside talks about, like, it was kind of the final thing that Godfrey did? Yeah. That's an interesting connection, Andy. Yeah. Yeah, because in a sense, you are very much carrying Melina through this, right? Like, yeah, you are kind of her vessel, just like when that Albineric like decides to like part ways with her wolf and like join you, like you're carrying her along. Yes, resistance to change is definitely a feature of of the ego, which is exactly why things like the Dark Night of the Soul are necessary to initiate change. Like if you're not willing to do it yourself, something is going to happen that kind of forces your hand to do so. But if you're all, you know, drugged up on anti-anxieties and numb everything away, you probably just don't care. Like you, in some sense, feeling nothing is better than feeling pain to some people. So have you watched Prepare to Cry? I have not. The newest one? I literally haven't watched consumed Elden Ring for 6 months. So anything that's happened in the past 6 months, I'm like pretty unaware of. Slumbering egg. Owl eggs that will never hatch. Materials prized as a symbol of the most sublime slumber. An eternally burning butterfly found near wildfires and elsewhere serves as the kindling for a number of items. Yeah, Anastasia. Yeah. You can fight 3 times. You can fight her 3 times, like, within that church? Or are you just saying, like, throughout the game? Wow, I didn't... I'm, like, dead already. Yeah, I think that that's a possibility, Danny. I think that like explains kind of Saint Trina's like this whole like sublime sweet slumber and like feeling nothing. To me is yeah, like reminiscent of like there's kind of like there's different ways that you can tackle problems, right? Like substances are sometimes are very powerful option that just kind of numb the pain away. And then there's the more arduous path of, you know, kind of just like this inward journey of self-discovery and reliving these past traumas and stuff like that. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that Mikola tried all these different things to heal, right? And nothing worked until he found a way to get into the shadow. It's like all of these different things are band-aids to like this very deep wound. You have to go back. Like that's the only way to. The only way out is through, and the longer you use other means to kind of as a kind of a crutch or soothant to your problems, like they're not going anywhere. Like they're gonna follow you everywhere. That was a warning shot. Oh, man. Good gracious. Okay, I got him this time. Got him. Got him. What the? Timing's not good. Oh, you bitch. Nope. Oh my god. This is embarrassing. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm getting fucking bonked. Oh, use catch frame? Alright. Good call. I never use spells or incantations, so I very rarely remember that I have them. And on this character, I actually want to use like bestial incantations, so I'm gonna need reminders. Oh yeah, that. Does this do stagger damage as well? Poise damage? Seem like it? Ah! What? Oh. Oh, I don't have any more. Oh, I got him. Yeah, I literally hardly ever use anything other than just my weapon. that should be my goal this playthrough. Is to craft a bunch of stuff, use different items. Cool. First playthrough was profit. Okay, so we have Limgrave. One thing I've never really paid attention to are the actual shapes of the individual map pieces. Like when I first saw this, I very much got like the oh, what's the first place you go to in the DLC? What's that what is that? What's that area called? Gate. That's interesting. What is it? What's that opening area called? Like the... Is it just the shadow, like, Altus or something? Oh, Gravesite Plains, that's it. For some reason, the Limgrave map fragment, like the area that it uncovers in the map, reminded me of the Gravesite Plains. You know, it's interesting that just this, the name of this site of grace, and if there's any further meaning like knowing what we know that, okay, so this is Limgrave, right? Which seems to harken back to the atrocities of America's home, right? Shaman Village, Bonnie Village, all that kind of stuff. And even further south is the Weeping Peninsula, which talks about a surviving clan taking kind of vengeance for, you know, their people that died. And if we look at it from kind of this historical kind of like experiencing it through America's past, like if we take from south to north, like is this the time, right, where she experiences the atrocities of her village, the atrocities of Bonnie Village, And then that's when she decides to go through the divine gates. Like, quite literally, this is meant to represent the time in her life where she is at the gate fronts, right? Or the gate front. And from here, it's like demigods and more of her story. And also, what's interesting is this is also where you find Melina. Now you can find her in other places, but I think if you're just going right on the rails that we talked about earlier, where you're following the sites of grace, if what we are seeing in the DLC trailer is this division, this inner division, it would make sense that we find Melina here, right? Like, if she represents that division. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I've not beaten the tree sentinel yet. I can go whoop that ass real quick. Well, let's do, I guess, Ronnie. We can do Ronnie first, and then do that. Sure.
This way, Tarnished. May I have a word?
Mm-hmm.
A pleasure to meet thee, Tarnished. I am the witch Trina. I'd heard tell of a Tarnished hurtling about atop a spectral steed, and upon looking into the matter, the talk, I surmise, is of thee. Thou art possessed of the power, no? To call forth a spectral steed named Torrent.
Me? Mm-mm. Nope. Never heard of
Trifle
him.
not with me, Tarnished. Or didst thou merely forget the name of the spectral steed thou callest? I will ask thee again. Thou art possessed of the power, no? To call forth a spectral steed named Torrent.
No. I don't know what you're talking about.
Quite the stubborn one, aren't we? Wise in a way. The lands between are home to lies and cheats aplenty. Perhaps thine ample mistrust will be to thy benefit. I shall leave this for thee, at the behest of Torrent's former master. Take it, shouldst thou overcome thy suspicion.
Spirit Calling Bell and Lone Wolf Ashes. Super interesting that, like, she almost praises you in a way for not telling the truth. Like, because she herself, she's also lying to you for her own agenda, right? And, like, because of what she's done, which immediately begs, like, the question of, okay, can you trust anything that she's saying? Because if she straight up lies to you the first time you meet her, and then says, like, not trusting people will serve you well, it's kind of hard to see her and her ending as like this justice in a way.
This tiny golden aura is the grace of the Earth Tree. This light once shone in the eyes of your tarnished brethren, but now it is all that guides you. Or so I hear. You can see them, can't you? The rays of grace that guide you through your burden.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, the word, like, it guides us through our burden. That, like, tarnished are the only ones who are tarnished the only ones able to become Elden Lord? That doesn't make any sense. Is it just specifically talking about since the shattering?
Upon the cliff, in Castle Stormvale, is a shard bearer, a demigod, who inherited a fragment of the shattered Elden Ring. If the rays of grace signal the castle, then the Elden Ring beckons you. As an ally by pact, I pray that you are fit to face the challenge presented by the ring. Upon the cliff, in a demigod, who inherited a fragment of the shattered Elden Ring. If the rays of grace signal the castle, then the Elden Ring beckons you. As an ally by pact, I pray that you are fit to face the challenge presented by the ring.
I'm ready. Yeah, we'll level this up. Might as well. We'll have a million of these. In the furthest south of the Weeping Peninsula, you can get transported to the Divine Bridge in Lindell. Thought I had as if that was connected to the Divine Gate in the DLC. Yeah, that's a good thought. We'll go Weeping Peninsula next. Forgot to attack. Oh, no freaking way. Oh, you can get his weapon? Come here, big man. Suck on it. What did he hit me with? His freaking pinky toe? That's bullshit. God. Not a good start. Nope. Ooh. Let's see here. Weighty halberd forged of gold, wielded by the order of the Tree Sentinels, heavily equipped knights. Deals holy damage, a masterfully crafted weapon that lives up to its heft, but is difficult for one near human strength to wield. It's interesting that the Golden Vow is the skill. Golden Vow, skill passed down from the antiquity among the knights of the capital. Raise armament aloft and pledge to honor the Erd Tree in battle, granting self and nearby allies increased attack power and defense. What does it take to 30 strength? Ooh, I'm very far from that. Let's see here. Let's go here. No. Yes. Yeah, I agree. Red. Yeah. And the Golden Vow is a consumable item you can find in the DLC. Let's see. Okay, I think this might be where I call it for today. We'll do Weeping Peninsula next time. In the meantime, let me know if there's things like you guys want me to talk about, or you know, comment below in the video if there's certain things you want me to discuss. But as always, thanks so much for joining. Much love from me.